everyone, Jenny Carr here, international best-selling author, speaker, and inflammation expert. I am so excited that you're with me today for the insider scoop to the Clean Eating Kid. Hopefully your Clean Eating Kid book is on the way, but in the meantime, I want to get you started with some amazing swaps. I'm going to show you behind the scenes swaps that I just pulled out of my cabinets and refrigerator today to get you started with especially the kid favorite foods. And I'm also going to teach you the way to get started, how to communicate with your child and your family members so that you can get started on this incredible science experiment, how to bring your kids on the clean eating train really through their own free will, and the mentality, kind of how I go about creating lunches or meals in the most simplistic, easiest way. I mean, the truth is, you guys, we are all so busy. And a number of years ago, my son had severe chronic health conditions, as did I, and we have both healed not only by adopting, but specifically maintaining anti-inflammatory eating. We can all try anti-inflammatory eating or healthy eating for a day or two or a week, or maybe you did Whole30, but how many of you have stuck with it for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, even a decade worth of years? That's why I'm here today, because I want to show you how tasty, delicious, and easy anti-inflammatory eating can be. When I say the word anti-inflammatory eating, you may or may not know what that means. And to be honest, it's different for each and every person because there's not a standard definition of what it is. For some people, it means they're eating more turmeric or cayenne or ginger in their diet. For some people, it means they're vegan, right? I have found with over a decade worth of coaching, of helping people specifically reverse chronic symptoms, both physical, mental and emotional, as well as behavior, that the fastest way to melt the inflammation away is through my method of anti-inflammatory eating, which is by swapping out processed sugar, refined wheats, refined oils, GMOs, cow dairy, and alcohol for options that taste similar but don't inflame. And today I'm going to show you grocery store swaps. So if you're like, that sounds great, but I don't have time to cook or meal batch or do all these things, I've made this book for you. My first book, Piece of Cake, The Secret to an Anti-Inflammatory Diet, is full of quick, delicious, amazing, a lot of comfort food style recipes. And in the Clean Eating Kid, the first half of the book, I teach you how to swap out the top 6 inflammatory foods, all the tricks for bringing your kids on the clean eating wagon, how to maneuver through birthday parties and school events, sleepovers, etc. And in the second half of the book, I walk you down the grocery store aisle and I show you the foods that our family loves to eat free of these top inflammatory ingredients. So today I've brought you into my kitchen and I pulled out a whole bunch of foods that our families eat, my kids love on a day-to-day basis, and I'm just gonna walk you through some of these swaps. Be sure to stay to the end of this video because I do have a special offer for you and your family if you want a little bit more support and hand-holding as you go through this journey of reversing chronic symptoms, melting inflammation from your body without feeling overwhelmed and deprived. Okay, before we get to the food swaps, let's start here. I want to teach you what is the key to getting your family really psyched about what I call a 2-week science experiment. The reason I encourage people to do a 2-week science experiment where they remove the top 6 inflammatory ingredients, and if that's overwhelming, just start with processed sugar, is because it takes 2 weeks for your body to fully process the inflammation from these top inflammatory foods that you were probably eating previously. Even if you eat really clean, they sneak into so many different foods, which we'll talk about in a second. So 2 weeks is what I gave my son. He was very, very sick as a baby and had a number of life-threatening conditions, chronic infections, respiratory issues. He was on antibiotics at least every other month for the first year of his life. We were in and out of hospitals for months at a time, ICU. It was really scary. And when we came home, he ended up with a severe sensory condition. It was so intense, you guys. A drop of water would land on his shirt and he'd scream and scream and he'd say, I need to tear it off. It hurts, Mom. He had a difficulty focusing at school. Transitions were challenging. Expressing his emotions to his friends and family became an issue. And he couldn't even put multiple layers on of clothes to go outside at recess, which if you were to look outside right now, you'd see I'm surrounded by snow. We live in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where it's very cold in the winter. So it was actually stopping him from going outside and playing at recess, because by the time he was dressed in his recess clothes, the kids were coming inside. So it was really impacting him. And that's important to remember, because we're going to circle back to this in a moment, how inflammation is impacting our kids, so that we can help to get them on this clean eating train, do the science experiment with their own free will. So here's the deal, you guys. In those 2 weeks where I packed everything, breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, snacks, because my son would come to me when he wasn't in his preschool or in his daycare, and he'd eat really healthy. But when he was in his daycare or preschool, or he'd go to friends' houses, he would eat inflammatory foods. And I really wanted to see what happened when we closed the gap from 70% of the time eating clean to 30% not. When we totally close that gap, that is where magic for my son's healing absolutely exploded. And it is what I invite you all to do with me for 2 weeks. Get on board, get your kids on board, which we'll talk about here in a second, and do a science experiment. Don't trust me. Listen to your body. Help your children learn how to listen to their body. It's something that our society is missing. We take medicine to numb our body out and numb our symptoms out and cover the symptoms up with Band-Aids instead of listening to what it needs. Food is medicine. It's an ancient, let food be medicine and medicine be thy food, as Hippocrates once said. This is an ancient wisdom that's been passed down from generation to generation, because food has changed so much, especially over the course of my life in the last 30 or 40 years. What used to be food for us as children has now become food-like products, filled with toxins, filled with chemicals, filled with ingredients that we've become used to as a society, but which are making us sicker and sicker by day. So if any one of your family is suffering from a chronic symptom that means anything, whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed, it could be a whispering symptom, like you just have this chronic, gentle, subtle nausea or bloating, headaches, eczema, rashes, constipation, or it could be something that's really loud, an autoimmune condition, obesity, diabetes. There's a lot of arthritis, major arthritis, so many different health conditions inflammation is at the root of. And in fact, the way that you know whether or not inflammation is at the root of that health condition is whether or not it's chronic. So if it's been with you for 3 months or more, you rest assured inflammation is at the root. And while inflammation shows up for a number of different ways, diet is the simplest, most effective way to get the biggest impact for you to feel better. Okay, but before, again, we talk too much more about food, here there's a very, very, very important topic, a very important kind of method to help bring your family on the clean eating train. And that is that we identify our why. Why do we want to heal? Why do we want to feel better? First, you have to identify it for yourself as an adult. Why do you want to feel better? What is important to you? It may be that you're experiencing pain in your joints, right? Or that you're not sleeping well at night. It may be that you have low energy, fatigue, that you want to lose weight. But how are those symptoms impacting you from living the day-to-day life that you dream of? It could be that you're a grandparent and you've always dreamt of running around and playing with your grandkids, but your joints hurt too much to be able to do it. That is your why. Your why is to play with grandkids. Your why is to be able to be active as a way you dream of. Not so much about losing the pain, yeah, of course, but the bigger reason is how you want to live your life. It could be that you are an entrepreneur and you have really low energy. You have a difficult time sleeping. You feel bloated and brain fog. While we want to eliminate those symptoms, your bigger why is that you are looking to evolve your career, to create a business that's going to make a real difference in your life and the lives of others. That is your why. Maybe you're a mom who's been chronically ill like I was. I was bedridden for years due to chronic health conditions and autoimmune conditions. And I simply wanted to be able to have the energy to host sleepovers for my children, to be able to drive them to after school activities, to do homework with them, so that I could go on date nights with my husband. I didn't have the energy or the stamina or the brain power to do any of that. So take a moment and think about, what is your why for adopting this way of eating? Because even though this is a clean eating kid, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in our family. That means that we have to adopt this first, or at least with our children and our family members, so that we're all in it together and we're supporting one another. We're holding each other accountable in a fun, supportive, and loving way. Now that you've identified your why, this is really important, because in order to get our family members on the clean eating train with you, we have to help them identify their why. Their why for doing this 2-week science experiment with you is going to be very different than your why for them to adopt this way of eating. Does that make sense? So here's what I mean. When I was telling you about my son and that his sensory condition was stopping him from putting multiple layers of clothes on him to go out at recess, right? He was missing recess. What else was happening behind the scenes is that when we would try to leave in the morning, he couldn't get his socks on. It would take him 20 minutes to get a pair of socks on because they didn't feel just right on his skin. He had to wear only very specific clothing, and if it wasn't that specific, super soft, no labels, no tags type of clothing, he would have an absolute meltdown. So getting out the door in the morning and arriving to school on time was a daily struggle. It caused unbelievable stress in my life, and I'm sure in my son's life. My why for having him adopt this way of eating was so that we could get out the door more quickly, so he could be focused and learn the cognitive academic part of his day more efficiently and effectively, so that he could, yes, for sure, play and go outside at recess, but I would say that's more on the bottom of my priorities when I was a mom with Tosh as a small child. But my son's why, he didn't care about getting out the house on time. He didn't care if I was late for school or not. He didn't care so much if he was focused at daycare and paying attention and absorbing his ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. What he cared about was getting outside for recess on time. So we had to help him understand how his chronic symptom, for him, the sensory condition, how the feeling on his skin was making it difficult for him to get dressed, and that he was missing recess time because of this. My son was only 1.5 years, 2 years of age when we had this conversation. And so we had to help him understand, what would it be like if you could just put your clothes on really quickly and go outside? Would you like that? Wouldn't that make recess so much more fun, make school so much more fun? And as we had this conversation, he started to get excited about the possibility of healing, the possibility of making his skin no longer feel uncomfortable, and that we could do this by changing his diet and eating really yummy foods like brownies and cookies, right? That we didn't have to simply eat boring, plain spinach and broccoli all day, right? That's not what we're talking about here. We just had to swap out the foods that he normally ate, like the brownies and cookies, which had inflammatory ingredients, for options that taste similar but didn't inflame. So that's the key, you guys. Help first, number one, you identify your why. Why are you committed to this journey? And as you're going through the process, keep coming back to your why. If you feel temptations or you fell off the wagon and you think you're never going to get it right, you will, I promise. Come back to your why. That is your motivation. Step number two, help your children or family members understand their why. My husband has type 1 diabetes, and while that's important for him to heal, he's also a really big athlete. So actually his why is to become even a better athlete. That's really important for him right now. So because of that, he's more willing to adopt this way of eating because he knows it's going to support his athletic performance. Help your family members and your children identify their why, and remember, it probably will be different than the reason you want them to adopt this way of eating. Once you've done that, you have to make step number 3, make this sound like fun. Say all together, we're going to do a 2-week science experiment and tell your children they get to become the renegade researchers for the family and tell us what we can and cannot eat, that they're looking for names of processed sugar, which there's a whole list in my book, The Clean Eating Kid. And so as you go through and buy different foods at the grocery store, as you're reading the ingredients, you're going to read, oh, this has coconut sugar instead of cane sugar or processed sugar. This is something we can have. And your kids will get, especially if they're old enough to read, they'll get really, really excited about being able to tell mom and dad what they can and cannot eat because, come on, all of our kids love to be in charge, right? And it's a great opportunity to get them involved in a lifelong skill that will stick with them for many, many years to come. So we have to make this fun. Once they're saying, yes, I'll be a renegade researcher, I'm going to get on board, one of the key components, I would say the next key component, is that we need to make it taste really good. All the time, but especially at the beginning. If any of you guys are worried about calories in, calories out, let's just erase that theory for a hot second here. And remember that it's the type of calorie that counts when it comes to our health and well-being, especially in melting inflammation away. So what that means is we can tell our children, look, we're going to swap out the Oreo cookie or the Nabisco chocolate chip cookie for a different kind of treat. But guess what? Since you're willing to do this 2-week science experiment with me, I'm going to give you twice as many cookies as I normally would each day. Just as a thank you, just as a way to say we can celebrate this, we can eat really yummy, tasty food, we can make it be so fun and feel better. How awesome is that? Let's sweeten the deal a little bit. Get them excited. That is really, really key. Next, you want to go through either my recipe book, Piece of Cake, The Secret to an Anti-Inflammatory Diet, or through the grocery store food swaps and the Clean Eating Kid, and ask them what kind of foods sound really good to you. Start with treats first because kids crave sugar. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine, especially processed sugar. It's embedded in everything from soups and breads and pastas to deli meat. I mean, it is in everything. So the first thing we want to do before we start taking out the processed sugar and swapping out these inflammatory ingredients are find clean treats, because as we detox, we will start craving sugar more and more. That's true for you and it's true for your children. Have clean treats on hand. It's the number one most important thing as you begin this process. So I'm just going to show you a few of the fun clean treats that we have in our house. There's actually a ton of them because again, kids love treats and they feel like if they don't have treats and their friends are, they're being left out. Having treats at holidays, or if they're just craving something sweet, we want to make sure we have these, otherwise they will reach for the inflammatory foods. Okay, so to begin with, I love this company, Maxine's Heavenly. They make chocolate chip, peanut butter chocolate chip, cinnamon raisin oatmeal. These are really, really delicious. They use coconut sugar for the sweetener, and they are amazing. Peanuts are a little bit inflammatory, so once you've swapped out the top 6 inflammatory foods, try peanuts next. They may be inflammatory, but I think probably for your kids, most people, it works just fine, especially in moderation. There's another company called Sajoya. Sajoya is a delicious, really thin cashew cookie, and it's I'm trying to think of what it reminds me, like a wafer almost. They have vanilla, they have lemon, they have a bunch of different flavors. These are really, really delicious. Then I love Simple Mills, which you can find just about anywhere these days. Also sweetened with coconut sugar, which coconut sugar is low on the glycemic index. So if you have any kiddos with diabetes, coconut sugar and raw agave are the best swaps. If you're looking for sugar swap for processed sugar, those work really well. And then monk fruit or stevia is even better because those are sweeteners with no sugar at all. But coconut sugar is low on the glycemic index, so a nice swap. These also kind of remind me like of the texture and the flavor of graham crackers. They're slightly sweeter than graham crackers, but they actually make a really awesome s'more. You can buy these marshmallows from a company called Apricity, Sweet Apricity. They make vanilla marshmallows, and over the holidays, they make like a cinnamon pumpkin marshmallow and a peppermint marshmallow for Christmas. But if you take the vanilla marshmallow with these Simple Mills crunchy toasted pecans and add some Hu chocolate, or what's the other company? Honey Mama's chocolate, which I don't have in front of me, but those make an amazing s'more. So there's a lot of different ways you can play with these, but these are all simple grocery store swaps, you guys. You don't have to make any recipes. You can go to the grocery store, go onto Amazon, go into thrivemarket.com, which Thrive Market has incredible prices, and buy them. Simple Mills has a brownie that you can make in a box. I keep these in the cupboard for just last minute parties or a weekend with a sleepover that we might want to make. You've got vanilla cake and cupcake. They even have pumpkin mix. So all kinds of delicious baking and kind of treat opportunities here. What else? Okay, so that brings us, I think, on to when we're talking about cookies. Sometimes people consider snacks cookies as well. I really think of them as treats, but a lot of times when kids say snacks, what they really mean is a treat. So bars, what are some bars? This is my favorite company in the entire world. It's called Rewind Bars. These are mostly sold online. You can Google Rewind Bars and find them. They have a cinnamon coffee cake, a coconut chocolate chip. They have a almond butter and jelly. They have a whole bunch of different bars and flavors. What I love about these is that they're not super sweet, so they're not made with a ton of dates. The chocolate is actually free of cane sugar, which a lot of chocolates in these health food products, if there's chocolate chip, typically there's a tiny bit of cane sugar, which of course is processed sugar. So it's nice that these are completely free of processed sugar. And it's just a great grab and go bar. Next, my next favorite, which I love the Rewind Bars because they're also loaded with superfoods. So you know that you're getting like really amazing antioxidants to your kids and your family members when they eat this. These are not necessarily loaded with superfoods, but are also really delicious. My son loves the chocolate chip cookie dough or peanut butter chocolate chip Lara bar. They make berries and apple pie flavorings that don't have any chocolates or peanuts, so that's really great. So those are some great bars just to have on hand, throw into your son's or daughter's lunchbox or backpack for an after-school snack. There's also these. Who remembers fruit roll-ups? Do you guys remember fruit roll-ups? These here are called Bear Yo-Yos. See if I can put it up close. And the Bear Yo-Yos are made of fruit puree. Now what's important to know is that fruit juice concentrate, and here's some little gummies, because what kids don't love little gummies? Fruit juice concentrate is one of the 50 names for processed sugar. So fruit juice alone is fine. Fruit juice concentrate is processed sugar. These have no concentrate in them, and you will find that many kids' foods have fruit juice concentrate as a kind of hidden name for processed sugar. These are just straight up puree. So, and what I love, my daughter's favorite is the green one, which is the apple flavor. It's apples, pears, and spirulina, an amazing superfood. You don't taste the spirulina at all. These are so good. And again, they're like those fruit roll-ups, so kind of fun for the kids, something unique and tasty. Okay, I'm just looking at my counter. I have all this food taken out. That is it for kind of snacks and treats, with the exception of, if you have not tried Medjool dates, you've got to give them a shot. Also my daughter's favorite. This to me reminds me of caramel. medjool dates in particular, that variety is very soft and rich and sweet. They're just amazing. And so easy to have in your refrigerator or put a couple in a lunchbox for a treat. They're delicious. My daughter loves them. Okay, let's see here. Other treats. Do I want to do this? I'm going to hold off for the drink section until that. Let's look at some other snacks like crackers. Again, Simple Mills takes the, what's the phrase? Like, they do an amazing job. They have a lot of incredible crackers and cookies and different items. They even have pancake mix. And these are amazing. They're made with a nut and seed flour, almond, sunflowers, and flax seeds, tapioca starch, cassava starch, organic sunflower oil, sea salt, organic onion, organic garlic, and rosemary. These taste like saltines. So this is the plain fine ground sea salt. They have other flavors. They have a farmhouse cheddar, which does use cow dairy, but as you're weaning kids off of like cheddar bunnies or goldfish, the farmhouse is an amazing next step. They have a rosemary for a little bit more sophisticated taste, but this plain fine ground sea salt really tastes like a basic like saltine type kids crackers. So I highly recommend this if your kids like cheese. And then what kid doesn't love chips, right? This company I really love. It's called Good Health. And they use non-GMO potatoes. You can see it's certified non-GMO. That's important because potatoes are very highly genetically modified. Corn, soy, wheat, potatoes, make sure you're getting non-GMO. So non-GMO potatoes, and the only other ingredient is avocado oil and sea salt. So avocado oil is a non-inflammatory oil that can be heated to really high temperatures and allows for you to get these amazing chips without the inflammatory ingredients. How cool is that, you guys? A chip that's non-inflammatory. So give this a shot. It's amazing for your kids. I definitely eat these more in moderation because I still have a little bit of autoimmune subtleties in my body. So I don't eat a ton of these, potatoes in general, but these are amazing for your kids. An awesome, awesome snack indeed. Another snack that my kids love, and this could be turned into a meal, are quesadillas. As I mentioned, corn, soy, wheat, potatoes are some of the highest genetically modified foods on this planet. So I love to get a sprouted corn tortilla. This is from a company called Food for Life, and you'll typically find these in the refrigerator or freezer section of your health food store. They're an organic, non-GMO corn tortilla with no oils. It's just sprouted organic corn, filtered water, sea salt, and lime. And then I use a goat mozzarella or goat cheddar. There's a lot of different companies. Mountain Sterling's one of them. Here's another one. I think it's called Leclerc. This is not pungent. You guys, if you haven't seen a goat cheese that's actually hard, right? It's not soft goat cheese. This is non-pungent. It's grateable, shreddable, meltable. Like I make lasagna, quesadillas, grilled cheese sandwiches using this type of goat or sheep mozzarella. So give this a shot. It's amazing. It's transformed the way my kids can continue to have those comfort foods. In fact, I'll show you a couple breads that we use. This is Dave's Killer Bread, specifically the Power Seed. The Power Seed, which is the red label, the red variety. You'll see wheat, as I mentioned, is one of the top GMO foods. This is certified non-GMO. And unlike any other wheat bread that I can find, with the exception of one other, I'll show you. This is a fluffy, like sandwich wheat type bread. There's no processed sugar in here. So you may find the other varieties of Dave's Killer Bread, they all have some form of processed sugar, but this Power Seed does not. And even better, one slice has 5 grams of protein. So a really great way to make a grilled cheese and know they're getting lots of protein from the goat cheese, and this for toast in the morning. Make sure they're getting some really nice protein. Also really healthy fats from flax seeds and healthy seeds. The other one is Ezekiel bread, if you've ever seen this. Ezekiel bread, Ezekiel. It's from the same company food for life as these tortillas. You'll also find this in the freezer section because there's no preservatives in them, or very, very little. Natural preservatives. This also does have wheat, but it's a sprouted wheat. So it's an ancient sprouted wheat, meaning there's much less gluten, and there's no processed sugar in this as well. They do make a brown rice bread that has no gluten in it as well for anyone who has celiac or food allergies. I actually will take this whole thing. I use this to make French toast. I have an amazing French toast recipe and piece of cake, and I will cook the entire thing of bread. I'll cook it all in one serving, like on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and fill this up. And for the week, we have French toast to choose from and simply warm up before school for breakfast, which is awesome. Speaking of breakfast, if you like bacon, the company Applegate now makes a Whole30 certified. If you ever see anything that's Whole30 certified, that means there's no processed sugar in it, which is what we really want to focus on staying away from to begin with, right? It also means that there's no preservatives. It's a pretty clean anti-inflammatory version of eating. So if you see Whole30, whether this is a turkey version, but they just came out with a pork bacon that's also has no sugar, it's Whole30 certified just within the last few months. This is super exciting because deli meat from hot dogs, also organic Applegate hot dogs that are grass-fed. Grass-fed is really important for meat, and you'll learn more about that in my book, The Clean Eating Kid. But this is the hot dog you want to get that has no sugar, no preservatives, and is free from GMOs and highly inflammatory foods like many hot dogs actually do have that inflammation, not these. Okay, what else do? So those are some fun meats that just the kind of things that kids often like. There's also, Applegate also makes a few Whole30 breakfast sausages. So look for Applegate and their breakfast sausages. You can find some Whole30 approved, meaning no processed sugar, breakfast sausages. My son loves hash browns. Who would ever think hash browns are clean? But this particular company, and this is the only company I've been able to find so far, Cascadian Farm, that makes these hash browns, which are only organic potatoes. Remember, it's very important that they're organic. Again, you'll see non-GMO right over here because they're potatoes. Organic potatoes. I just add some sea salt, some garlic, and I cook them in coconut oil, extra virgin coconut oil. They are delicious. So that's super fun. Oh, I forgot to show you this. Applesauce. Most applesauce has processed sugar in it. So if you think you're giving your kids a healthy applesauce treat, make sure there's no juice concentrate or cane sugar. Santa Cruz Organics, the regular plain applesauce flavor, has no processed sugar, which is phenomenal. Okay. There's a few more things here I want to show you. Yogurt. Yogurt is a really popular kids food. It's got protein and calcium, but also is typically loaded with processed sugar. So here's how we do it. We get a goat yogurt. This one is very commonly found. This is the Redwood Hill Farm goat yogurt, plain goat yogurt, non-flavored. And then you want to get Sweet Leaf. Sweet Leaf is this company that makes a liquid stevia, and they make all these different flavors. Stevia, remember, is not a sugar. It's a natural sweetener, so there's no sugar at all, but it is really delicious and very, very clean. And they make lemon, they make Valencia orange, berry, vanilla. My daughter requests this every day in her lunchbox, and it's really high protein. So 3/4 cup of yogurt has 6 grams of protein. And really you can make it into an incredible dessert or treat with these sweeteners. So that's super fun. Okay, a few more meals. People also very often ask about pasta. This is one version called tinkyata, brown rice pasta. For a rice pasta, or any sort of gluten-free pasta, it is the best texture that I've found. A lot of gluten-free pastas are mushy and just not very delicious. This is an amazing texture. It's awesome al dente. My kids love it. I use Acadia tomato basil sauce. Acadia is the brand. Tomato basil is the flavor that has no processed sugar in it if you want to make like a spaghetti. Or they even have lasagna sheets. They have little noodles, or not noodles, shells and spirals. They've done all different types of pastas, so that's pretty fun. Drinks, really quickly. Oh, before I get to drinks, I forgot. Cereal. People are always asking me about what's like a cold cereal that they can just grab and go in the morning. This is Love Grown Power O's. It's their original version. The other flavors have processed sugar, but I love this company. It is made out of a bean blend, brown rice, and salt. That's it, you guys. So this also is one serving size, which is about 1 cup, has 6 grams of protein. Protein is so key to get our kids early in the morning, first thing in the day. It helps to stabilize blood sugar levels. So this is an amazing cereal, and we love to eat it with this company called Malk. Malk is a sprouted nut company, so a lot of nut milks and alternative milk, soy milk, all these different milks that come in cartons are typically have sugar, fillers, inflammatory oils. Not this. This you will find in the refrigerator section. It actually has, it's a pecan milk, but they have almond, pecan, and cashew milk. And this one in particular has some organic maple syrup to give it a little bit of a sweetener. Since this has no sugar, you can have this milk with a little bit of the maple flavor and maple syrup, and it tastes delicious. The other thing you can do with this milk is make hot chocolate. There's a company called Nib More that makes a mint hot chocolate, a regular hot chocolate, and even a like Mexican hot chocolate with spices, and they use coconut sugar. You can mix it up with this milk or coconut milk and add some sweet apricity marshmallows, and if it's not quite sweet enough, add a little bit of the vanilla cream stevia. Ooh, my kids love this, and so do I. It is so fun. For drinks, juices are really, really popular with kids. Juice boxes, kids just get used to drinking juice. And number one, almost all juices, there's very few juices, especially juice boxes, that are free of processed sugar. And number two, we need our kids to be drinking water to properly detoxify. You'll read about that in the book, The Clean Eating Kid. It's not just about hydration, it's about detoxification. But for a couple juice swaps, fresh squeezed orange juice. So a fresh squeezed juice, whether you fresh squeeze it yourself or a cold pressed apple juice with no concentrate, those are both really good options if your kids really want juice. And our rule is that you have to drink a glass of water before you drink juice. And then coconut water. You have to be careful because coconut water, they're starting to add processed sugar. I don't know why, it's crazy. But Harmless Harvest coconut water is a cold pressed, organic, non-GMO, no processed sugar coconut water, and my daughter lives off of these. When she has a craving, a sweet craving, she'll reach for a coconut water. It's very, very cool. Okay, that is everything I want to show you, except for I wanted to talk to you about how do I put meals together. So a lot of these things are snacky type stuff. And here's the deal, you guys. I don't even really follow recipes for a meal unless I'm going out of my way to make something special. The way I think about meals, whether it's packing lunches, breakfast, lunch, dinner, I think about I need a good protein, I need some sort of carb, and a healthy fat. It's that simple. So for example, and typically it's just whole food. So for example, I might get myself a rotisserie chicken, right? That's ideally organic, natural, free-range type chicken. And this will have both protein and healthy fats, especially if it's an organic chicken. And then I will simply get some of these sweet little miniature organic bell peppers or some grapes. Organic grapes, is important that peppers and grapes are organic. They're part of the Dirty Dozen. Or an organic apple, also important that it's organic, and slice them up. So on the plate will be some chicken that has natural fat and protein, and then fruit or a fruit and a vegetable. We keep it really, really simple. You can also make a big patch of brown rice, or I used to do, when my kids were getting used to this way of eating, I'd make 2 or 3 packages of this pasta, and I keep it in the refrigerator and pull it out, add a little bit of olive oil or coconut oil, heat it up, and so it was already cooked. It's just simple to throw with some pasta now and chicken and apple. Doing a quesadilla with that delicious cheese I showed you. Wherever I put it, I don't know where I put it, but making a quesadilla with some sliced apple. Like, you guys, this is time saving. It can actually simplify your life and make things so much easier. And then for dessert, pull out a Simple Mills cookie. Or, I forgot to grab this. Let me get it out of my freezer, because I know you'll want to know about this. Ice cream. Coconut Bliss. Oh, this is the ice cream company for you. I have organic cold brew coffee for all you parents, and an organic Madagascan vanilla bean for all the kiddos. They use agave and coconut sugar for their sweeteners. There's no inflammatory ingredients. The only time you'll see something inflammatory, sometimes the chocolate chips inside an ice cream will have cane sugar. So same thing with Simple Mills cookies, and again with those Lara bars. So be careful of that if you find out your child's super reactive to processed sugar and absolutely can't tolerate any. But that is the insider scoop to the Clean Eating Kid. Remember, we talked about how to bring both yourself and your family on the Clean Eating Kid, or on the Clean Eating wagon, identifying your why, your children's why, to help them be supportive and motivated to hop on, encouraging your children to become renegade researchers so they can look at what foods have processed sugar and which ones don't, and they can begin swapping those out at the grocery store with your help. And remember, a 2-week science experiment, closing that gap as much as you can to 100%, even if it's just with processed sugar. Forget all the others. Just take out processed sugar for 2 weeks and watch the magic transform. There may be a bit of detoxing inside my book, The Clean Eating Kid. I help you navigate how to move through detoxing, how to stop cravings in their tracks, so be sure to read that. And then I've showed you really only a very small percentage of the amazing grocery store swaps that are out there. And again, in part 2 of my book, The Clean Eating Kid, I walk you through all of these incredible grocery swaps along with many, many more. So be sure to read that. Share this book with your friends and family. I am really on a very personal mission to help our youngest generations and their families gain health through anti-inflammatory eating, 1 meal, 1 food swap at a time. And I need your help to make that happen. Our children deserve it. They deserve health. They deserve vitality. They deserve confidence. They deserve emotional and mental stability. So please, please help me. Share this book with anyone that you know who may love it. And last but not least, I promise you a special opportunity to work more closely with me should you feel that a little bit of extra support, accountability is something that would really benefit you and your family. I've created a group coaching program called The Clean Eating Kid, where you have access to an online course, pre-recorded videos that you and your family can watch together at any point in time. You get live coaching calls with me and my team every single week. There's a private Facebook group that I am extremely active in. I answer questions very immediately each and every day. And this course takes place over 9 weeks. There's more bonuses, more amazingness. You'll get all the information in the emails to come, so be sure to read those emails. And in fact, I'm also going to give you $100 off of this course. It's normally $497, but I am giving you $100 off of this course for watching this video and for showing up for you and your family, because I truly believe that we must be the change we wish to see, not in our family, but also the world, so you and I can hold hands together and create a better place for our children as they grow and evolve, gain health, and really raise the consciousness of our earth, of this planet, and humanity. Okay, I wish you all a beautiful day, health, healing, and vitality. Take care.